welcome to Dave's Garage. We're not in my garage, but still my channel, so what I say goes. So, gonna do two things on this ride. But one, I'm heading over to my favorite little knife store, Old Town Cutlery in Cumming, Georgia. So we're gonna go take a look and see what they've got, and doing a couple other updates here. So one, I had posted a video this morning that you know, I've never felt like the front's always been a little bit jittery. Now I get it's a short wheelbase, 150 horsepower at the wheel currently. Really happy little beast of a bike. And obviously Yamaha felt it needed front end stability, so they added a steering damper from the factory. And I happened to take it off because I was like, you know what, it just doesn't feel like it's doing a whole lot. You know, the front gets a little twitchy. So I took the thing off and I started playing with it, and I realized, okay, it has a low and high speed damping circuit. There's no settings, there's no way to adjust it. You can't adjust the threshold, where it transitions from low to high speed, nothing like that. It's just when you push it slowly, it's fairly easy, doesn't offer much in the way of resistance, which gives you a nice light feel when you're sitting in a parking lot or going slow. But the second you go to snap it, it tightens up instantly. That high-speed damping circuit kicks in, and more hydraulic more hydraulic resistance, which means more force is required to overcome it. So I was like, you know what? Something about this doesn't feel right. So I'm taking the thing, you know, I take it out and I'm playing with it, and I notice that I'm pushing it slowly. It's easy, and then as I wiggle it, I try to push it and pull it, kind of quickly back and forth, simulating what would happen when you're going over bumps and the front end's getting a little light and it's flicking back and forth. And what I found was that it doesn't transition left to right that well. So you go quick, you know, you move it quickly and a high-speed circuit engages and provides a lot more damping force. But as soon as you reverse it, it goes back to the light circuit, and it takes a bit of movement. Even as quick as you go, there's a wiggle room where it goes back and forth a little bit between the two, and it allows some play. Basically, it's like having a gap. So it will it's not, when you transit, like on a regular one that's adjustable, that just has one damping circuit, you dial in how much you want and that's how much you get, regardless of how fast you're going. Obviously, well, let me take that back. It's the same circuit, but it's not switching from one circuit to another. Obviously, with hydraulics, when you go to push it harder and faster, it's going to resist being pushed even more. You can't compress a liquid. So, and it only has a certain size aperture to fit through. The problem is when you have two different circuits and it has to go back and forth in between the two, there's a little bit of a lag in between them. And so I think that's in the middle where it was allowing a little bit of the twitchiness. So I happen to have a brand new one. It's a cheap one. It's like a $45 damper, adjustable damper off Amazon, but I've used them. Sarah has one on her ZX6R. I had one on my ZX6R. They worked fine. So I have that, plus then I ordered a new one of the Olin's copies that I'd gotten on my Speed Twin. But this thing's been, you know, I was like, let me try that, because that just has, I can adjust this tension to where I want, and it just stays there. And so when you go back and forth, there is no gap, there is no play, there's no slop like there was in the stock one. And so that's what I'm out here playing with. I noticed that that does seem a little bit stiffer and heavier steering when I'm stopped or going slow. It takes a little more effort at the bar. I could take a little bit of that out, but what I will say is when the front end's getting lofty, it's not, let's see, go straight here. It's not doing the whole, it is absolutely controlling it a lot more. I'm not getting the bars shaking back and forth. So I think that is the ticket. Now I may want to loosen it up just a little bit because the steering's not very tight. I think it's got like 25 clicks. and I'm like maybe 10 or 12 clicks out from full. So I'm only about 2/3 through the adjustment range. But so far, it's feeling mighty fine. I just had it there where it wasn't wheeling, but the front tire was skimming, and it wasn't doing it. Obviously, I need more than 3 pulls to do the testing, and that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go across the lake. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, but then it's going to be sunny, clear, and 69, 70 on Sunday, so try and do some riding on that day as well. I'm at 4K 60 right now, not doing HDR. I looked at the HDR, and while it really did make the colors pop yesterday, also I had it on super wide. It should have been just wide angle. It made everything look fisheye, and everything was far away. When you look at the video of me standing there talking during the other video after I did the install of the muffler, I was like, I look like completely distorted. Like I got a little tiny head, and the bottom half of my body is twice as big. And I changed it to HDR and 4K, but I forgot to change the angle from wide, super wide, just to plain wide. So we'll see how this video comes out. I think while the vibrancy did look really good, the colors were amazing on the HDR. I think for motion video, especially going fast, the 60 frames really does make it look a little better. So I'm going to keep experimenting. I got the audio obviously dialed in for vlogging. Now I just got to perfect my my video to make it really just look as good and crisp as possible. So someone else had asked me, like, hey, can you go through your settings that you're running on your ride modes and shit like that? Hurry up. Give him the nod. Get out the way. And so what I've done is, now I've got my ECU flashed. So power mode 1 and 2 are both completely unrestricted. So I got on my top end power that the factory had killed from the factory. So what I do is I have ride mode A is the default. It's set up just like it is. That's your bonkers mode, minimal traction, minimal lift control, minimal slide control. With this much power, I want a little bit more electronics intervention because it's so seamless on this, you don't even feel it. So what I did was I pretty much ride in mode B, but here's the change I made. I upped the power, because you can go into your YRRC settings into the menu, and you can, it gives you out of the box settings, but you can make A, B, C, and D, whatever the hell you want. So I left power mode, mode A alone. Mode B, I went in and made 2 changes. I changed the traction control from 3. I reduced it a little bit to 2. So I took 1 step off the traction, just a little less intervention, left everything else the same, but I did give it the full power, aggressive power mode of 1. So that's all that I've changed. C and D I haven't even touched, and unless it's raining out, I'm never going to use D. Yeah, wasn't getting jittery. I think that the stock, whatchamacallit, just isn't that good. You get more head shake and nervousness, I think, because of the dual damping circuits. They tried to do something cool of making it light and feeling agile when you're just sitting around, or you're not going fast, or you're sitting there parked and you want to move the bars around. But then if you hit a big bump, it will kick in, but it's in that in-between where the front tire is just kind of sitting there and it's fluttering and it's hitting little bits of the road and it's just kicking it just a little bit. If it's a big movement, it will catch it. It's the little movements where it's letting the front wheel kind of oscillate and move a bit back and forth, because it's sort of in that dead zone. When it goes from, if you're looking at it, from pushing one direction to now pushing in the other direction, when you look at the piston, the rod going in and out of the thing, it's that transition, the left to right, the going in and out, giggity, where it, there's a bit of lag, and it drops back to the low-speed circuit, which is loosey-goosey, and then it tightens up again. So it's like your steering damper's flittering back and forth, and it's going low resistance, high resistance, low resistance, high resistance. And every time it hits that low, it lets it move more quickly, easier, Having a consistent, here's the tension, dial in out of 25 clicks how much you want, and no matter what you're doing, it will just be that. which I think is like how the Öhlins and most of the more expensive ones do it, until you get into the electronic ones that are controlled by the ECU. But even there, it's still, all right, you're going 100 miles an hour on your CBR 1000 or whatever has the electronic ones, and it's basically, it's making it stiff, but it's not, it's stiff in relation to the speed you're going. It's still at that point, at that 100 miles an hour, it's basically a preset. It's just that preset is moving based on your speed, not the speed of whatever the front wheel is encountering. And that's what Yamaha's doing, is it's trying to react to whatever is happening, and it just doesn't do a good job of it. So going to this more linear type of a setup where you just dial in, here's how much resistance I want, and it just stays there, seems to be offering a smoother ride, although it does make the steering feel a little bit heavier. But honestly, I'm fine with that. Like, it doesn't, whatever. I mean, once I'm used to it, it's going to feel like I'm riding a, you know, any other bike. So I'll see. I may basically take out a click or two at a time until I feel it getting jittery again. But that doesn't feel bad at all. I think I've actually ballparked it. What I basically did was looked at where the high speed setting was, like how much effort it took and how fast it moved, and I tried to dial mine into that. And because it's only that, I'm not having the transition issue. And I talked to someone on the forum, and they said, yeah, I got rid of the stock one's crap. I went to a Hyper Pro, completely night and day different. So basically, you know, I'm not going to spend $600 or whatever on the Hyper Pro. I got the lesser expensive ones, but unless I have a problem with those, which I never have before. The only thing you got to do is make sure that they're installed tight. There's the cap that when they assemble it and fill it with oil, then that cap gets screwed in. Make sure that's tight. I did have one once loosened, so the first thing I do when I get the new one, because I'm not going to service it, if it wears out in 2 years, I'll just spend $45 and buy a new one. But I did have one where the cap came off and the fluid dripped out. So when I get a new one of these, I just put a couple drops of super glue on the threads, and now it's got no way to back out, and I don't have to worry about it. And of the ones that I've done that to, never had any issues. They've been great. So, but anyway, back to the ride modes. That's what I'm doing. You know, if you're new to this bike and you're a lesser experienced rider, A, you got balls because you're riding a bike like this, which is pretty freaking bonkers. But I would say for the most popular ride mode, I mean, all the reviews, video, and magazines, they recommend Power Mode 2. That it gives you full power up top, but it's a much more smooth, little more soft power delivery. I'm like, meh, I want the extra electronic intervention of Mode B. I like the extra safety net because I just don't feel it. But I know it's there and it's doing its job. But I like the little bit more raw feel. This is a hooligan bike. I didn't buy this to, you know, tool around on. That's what I got my other bike for, the Triumph. And then when I want to go stupid fast in comfort, then I got the ZX14. But so far right now, I'm going to let these guys get a little ahead of me. And then when I get on the dam, I get a little bit of a straightaway. I'm just going to pin it and see what it do. But yeah, the steering damper, I can definitely feel that little bit of extra stiffness in the front, but I don't mind it because it just makes it feel more planted and less jittery. Some will go, oh, it doesn't feel as agile. No, it just takes a little more effort. It's going to go where you want the bike to go. But it does feel pretty damn good, and it's not giving me the jitters like it was before. I'm just going to goose a little bit. Yeah, no problems. I'm hitting it's coming up and going down and bouncing and fluttering off the pavement, and no jitteriness. I don't think I'm gonna adjust this damn thing. I'm just gonna leave it where it is. Now, I do have another one coming tomorrow that's like the one on my Speed Twin, so I'm probably gonna throw that on just to see if it's any better. But honestly, I mean, this thing's feeling pretty goddamn good. Yeah, It is a nice day out. Got rain coming tomorrow. It's like 63% chance. I don't know if it's a ton of rain, but Sunday do look good. Let's see. I don't know where we're gonna go Sunday. We'll see what my peeps wish to do. See some Harleys here with Ape hangers. I rode once with Ape hangers. They are awful bikes with Ape hangers, and those guys riding side by side in the turns. I don't understand why Harley guys do that. I guess if you're going 10 under the speed limit like most of them are, I guess you can get away with that. I would never ride alongside my buddy the way that they do in the turns. I guess if you're going down Main Street or something, it's one thing. Yeah, lake's looking nice. There are some days I do wish I had a boat. I miss growing up. I mean, I do live on a lake. I'm not waterfront, but I live 2 minutes from the lake. And it's a big lake. This lake, you're looking at, you're like, oh, it just looks like a little lake because you can see the other side. It's a whole bunch of coves. It's actually like 15 miles long. It's got over 700 miles of coast of shoreline. It's ridiculously, it's just so much bigger than it looks like. It's not Lake Michigan, and don't get me wrong. It's not the Caspian Sea, but it's a pretty goddamn big lake. You can get lost out there because it isn't one big open space. There's hundreds and hundreds of coves and sections to it. It used to be a valley system that the Chattahoochee River ran through, and then the Army Corps of Engineers dammed it up and filled all the valleys. So there's the main valley, the channel where the Chattahoochee flows through, but then there's all the surrounding little valleys that were all interconnected and spilling down into it. Definitely happy with the Leo Vinci pipe, both the DCAT and once I got the modification done. I did also find a set of bolts that match on the mounting bracket, so that looks a little bit better. But yeah, I would say this is a success. You know, I'll try the other one just I think the other one looks a little better. It's a little lighter, and it's a copy of an Olin's, so I'm going to see if that one, how that one feels. I've already got one on the Speed Twin, but I got a new one for 45 bucks shipped coming tomorrow from Amazon. So I'll have the one that's on there now, which appears to be doing the damn exactly what I was hoping it would do. Yeah, see, that would have been fluttering. I was just hovering over the ground. That would have been shaking and doing all kinds of stuff, and it was steady as a rock. So I don't know, maybe I won't put the other one on. Maybe I'll just leave this one on. Now that it ain't broke, don't fix it. The other one looks better, but I don't know. The other one doesn't look bad. It looks better than the stock one. So there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off soon because I don't want to just prattle on for too long. I don't really have much else to say. We covered my ride modes. We covered what was going on with the stock one. I had a theory. Decided to test that theory, and so far, shouldn't go po-po around. So far, it's feeling good, man. None of that jitteriness as I'm, you know, getting hard on the gas. So if you've got, I'll put the link to the two that I have. I mean, I'll put a link on this one, then I'll do a review to, I guess, Sunday of the other one, just to see if there's any difference or if it's a little bit better. But it bolts right up. You don't have to do any modifications to it. You do have to replace the bolt on the eyelet end that goes on the left fork tube, and that's because the bolt on the stock one is pressed in and it goes through the hole, and then you just put the lock nut on the bottom. Well, when you take it off, the bolt goes with that. So you have the lock nut, but you just have to get your own. And I want to say it's a 6 or an 8 mil bolt. I don't remember which, but when you take it off, you'll see it's easy to figure out what it is. You just need like a 1.25 inch long bolt, a couple little washers, stainless washers, and boom, Bob's your uncle, bolts right up. You do have to disconnect the horn wires because the way it's mounted, it's right there where you have to put a socket to get the center bolt that mounts it to the bottom of the triple clamp. It's directly underneath the headlight, dead center. So when I get up to this stoplight, I'll go ahead and turn off the camera. But hope you enjoyed. If you got thoughts, you got questions, I'll put the model numbers of what I've got up there. Go watch the other video where I show you exactly. You can hear the clicking and you can see the slop in the stock one. Maybe mine was defective, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's just how it works when you got a cheap, made to a certain price point, OEM. You know, it's like the ZX-10R. Kawasaki actually puts an Öhlins on there. It's just a cheap damper that they put on there to help with front end jitteriness, but it's not like it's anything special. So anyway, folks, we'll see y'all later. So move up, clown. Guy who insisted in cutting me off to get into the passing lane and then went slower than everybody in the other lane. Don't try revving your little four-banger, dude. Your car sucks. Anyway. So, yeah, more experimenting with this thing. It is, it's absolutely helped the bike. It's not placebo. The bike feels more planted. I will say that, like I was mentioning before, that little bit of, you know, the steering being so light with the low-speed damping, I'd rather have it be a little stiffer at parking lot speeds, but know that it feels so much more planted in the turns and when it's loft in the front wheel, which is all the time. So the bike, while the front end feels a little stiffer, left to right, you know, the thing is your muscle memory adapts. After a while, you get to know your bike and you're like, okay, well, this is just how much I have to go into a turn or do whatever you're gonna do. And so, after a while, you don't even think about that. And so what I'm noticing here is it's kind of the same thing. After a while, when you first get on from a loose steering to a stiffer steering, you're like, oh, something feels stiff. You can go ride around for half an hour and you forget about it. What you don't forget about is how much more planted and stable this thing feels when it's wheeling, when it comes down, when it's bouncing on the front, when the pavement's rough, when you're in the turn and there's a little bit of ripple in the pavement. It's tracking better because the front's not wandering around as much. It's holding its line better. So I would absolutely recommend, now if you want to spend more money and not get the Chinese one, you know, great, you know, spend the $500 or whatever on a Hyper Pro, a Matrix. What are some of the other ones? Well, Öhlins, obviously. You know, go get one of those if that's, you know, the kind of, if you're that kind of guy or gal. I'm of a mind, it's, you know, I've used these ones before. Certain things I spend a bunch of money on, and other things I scrimp on. And it may not make sense to people, like, why would you not spend all the money on your baby? First, it's not my baby, it's a stupid bike. It's a cool bike, it's just a frickin' bike. I don't refer to my bike or my car as she. It doesn't have a stupid name. Only girls name their vehicles. I don't know, I just pissed off half my audience because, like, I name my, yeah, well, it's a chick thing, it doesn't matter. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's cool. Pokemon's common, but it's still gay. So, anyway, yeah, this thing feels just nicer, more planted, and it's got rid of that little bit of jitteriness. And I'm making a point of, like, there, I just went over some of the little potholes, because normally that would make the front kind of go, and, you know, just make it feel a little squirrely. Nope. This cheap $45 or whatever I paid for an Amazon steering damper. Hey dude, how about you put your fucking phone down? Check your Grindr app when you get home. But it says there's hot dudes in this area. Driving like that. That is absolutely what's going on with that guy. Got your giant diesel truck. Overcompensating. So in this week's edition of Grumpy Old Men with Dave, oh, it's like that's the worst time to be on the road is Friday at rush hour. All everybody cares about is getting home, cashing and spending their paycheck at the bar, making their weekend plans. Nobody is giving a shit or paying attention to their driving. They're gonna be all over the place in the wrong lane. Because God forbid you just drive and talk to your buddy when you get there. Or use this thing called hands-free. But how am I supposed to tweet without touching the screen? Trust me, nobody has ever tweeted anything so important that it couldn't wait. Ever. Lovely noise. Little bit of pop and crackle. Little bit. Not too much. Just enough. Sounds delicious. So yeah, I just wanted to come back at the end here and just say, you know, it's definitely... Oh, I've toggled my mode up to A. Huh. How the shit did I do that? I thought, you know what? I thought the bike was feeling a little bit more rambunctious. Although I will say it's still feeling good. But I went into A mode, which is the same power mode, but it backed down my slide control, traction, everything's on. It's just at the lowest setting. It's at 1. Yeah, now you just touch it. It wants to burp, come right up instead of a gradual rrp. Unfortunately, you can't change your modes on the fly. Now what's weird is that I can go in and change power mode if I wanted to. So let's see if I do this. Let's see if I change mode to power. Well, maybe you can't. You have to cut the throttle and do it? Yeah. So I'm in power mode 4. That's wide open. I just turned this into an MT-07. Alright. Yeah, there's no power. That's rain mode. Cut the throttle, back up to power mode 1, and oh yeah, that's one to come back up again. But you can't change the A mode, B mode. You can go in and change individual settings. Like I could go in and turn off slide control. I could turn off traction control on the fly. But for some reason, you can't change A, B, or C. That's weird. That is most peculiar. And I mean, I guess I still have some safety systems on. What I was going to do is, if I get to a stop sign, or a stoplight for a minute, open up my YRRC settings, and make sure that I gave you the right settings before. I know I put slide control on minimal, I think, or it was on 2. I did go from traction 3 to 1. I think lift control I went down to the minimum setting to 1. So there might have been 3 things I changed for B mode. Put it in the most powerful mode, backed off traction control 1 click down to 2, and then I think I took my lift control, my wheelie control, and I made sure that was on 1. So it's there to save me from looping it, but it will allow me to play and have a bit of fun with the wheelies. Let's see if I can get stuck at this light for longer. Normally I want to go and I don't want to be sitting at traffic lights. But then when I actually want to get stuck at a light because I need to change a friggin' setting, suddenly it's like nothing but greens. It's crazy. Alright, so let's very quickly do the first thing, which is B mode. And if I go into YRRC, there's my settings. Power 1, traction 2, slide control 2, and lift control I did turn down to 1. So I changed those 3 settings. You can pause it. Go back and pause it. You'll be able to see the screen there and see exactly what I have. Those are my best settings. I get all the safety net of B mode, but relax the wheelies a little bit. Come on, asshole, go. Relax B mode a little bit, or lift control a little bit, and give it a little bit more power. So it's kind of a hybrid, A and B. Some of the benefits of A, but still have most of the safety benefits of B. But anyway, back to how the front end feels. Yeah, those little wheelies would upset the front before, because you come down the wheel, you know, the wheel was so jittery, it'd start to wobble back and forth, and it ain't doing it now. And all that's changed is me taking off the OEM damper and just putting on mine. And I think my goddamn, maybe not, maybe I gotta come up with a slightly stronger mount, because I think my camera's been facing up. You might not have actually seen the screen there. I notice every time this thing does a wheelie, when it comes down, the camera angle changes. Let's get up here and see if I can. Problem is the back screen is not working with gloves. There's always something, and I crank that thing down, I tighten that down. I'm gonna have to put some Loctite in the pivot or super glue or something. I'm gonna pull over right here. I could take my freaking glove off. This happened the other day too. Yeah, it's aimed high. Alright, so while I'm here, there is my YRRC settings. Screen cap it right there, or pause. Those are my settings that I'm using. Alright, now let's get back on the road. So I have no idea how long my camera was at that wonky angle. But something in the GoPro mount, even though I got that screw, you know, you set your angle and then you tighten that screw with your, you know, it's like a thumb wheel. I've got that thing cranked down, and I can still very easily re-aim this. So maybe I have to try a different mount. It's always something, man. Nothing ever works exactly the way I want it to. Yeah, if I tighten it anymore, I'm worried that I'm going to break the plastic. I crack it, but it's fun. UPS guys, let's go, let's race. It's like, all right. If it gets my package to my house that much quicker, go for it. So, anyway, those are my settings. I won't bore you with anything else. We'll take it easy.